Welcome to the Big Four Accounting Firms podcast, brought to you by thebigfouraccountingfirms.com. Check out our blog and subscribe to our podcast for career advice, recruiting secrets, and the latest Big Four news. Hope you enjoy the show.
Today I wanted to speak about the recent cybersecurity crimes that have been in the news and how they could impact the Big Four. More specifically, I wanted to speak about the Facebook Cambridge Analytica scandal and the Russian election hacking scandals and how they could impact the Big Four accounting firms. The Facebook Cambridge Analytica scandal is where a third-party service mined tons of private data from Facebook users. And they use this data to try and influence the United States election. And Russia also tried to take similar steps in the US by using Facebook data to manipulate the US election. Russia has also tried to hack Facebook and other US companies to find data that they could utilize against the United States. Now, you might be thinking that the only thing that might come out of the Facebook scandal and all these investigations into Russia is that you might want to delete your Facebook account, or you need to install antivirus software or malware software. But that's not the only thing that will come out of all these cybersecurity concerns in the news right now. This can actually benefit the Big Four a lot. And what came out of all the testimony from Mark Zuckerberg last week was that Facebook didn't know a lot of what was going on, which is kind of shocking. Either way, Facebook has to do a lot more around their cybersecurity and other controls around their data. And many times during Mark Zuckerberg's testimony, he admitted it would take a lot of effort to install new controls or to look into past data breaches. But just because looking into it might take a lot of time and effort doesn't mean that Congress and Facebook's shareholders are going to not want them to do it. And this is a perfect scenario for the Big Four accounting firms to come in and step in and save the day. Facebook might have all the technological know-how to look into these data breaches. They might have the right coders and cybersecurity specialists, but they probably don't have the time in their schedule to unravel all of the misuses of user data over the past few years. Additionally, once they complete their investigation, they might not have all the know-how of how to present that information to the board. The board of Facebook is not going to go easy on Mark Zuckerberg in future board meetings either. They're going to want to know what steps are being taken to prevent this from happening in the future. And both of these areas are where the Big Four can shine. They have employees with lots of available time that can do this kind of consulting work. Additionally, the Big Four partners are very familiar with what needs to be presented to board of directors at any large company for situations like this. And this is what Mark Zuckerberg will likely have to do pretty soon after his testimony. There are many activist shareholders out there and investors of Facebook calling for him to step down as chairman and CEO of Facebook, and they're trying to find ways to make him step down. So he's going to have to prevent that by making good presentations to them in the future, and this is where he could use the Big Four help. And these shareholders and investors would like somebody more seasoned to be able to deal with these scandals in the future. They will also want someone with more experience in cybersecurity as well. So Mark Zuckerberg is really going to have to shine because the board has more ammunition than ever to try to get Mark Zuckerberg to step down, because there will likely be increased regulation across the board in the United States and Europe around social media and the data that they mine from their users. Some estimates from Goldman Sachs estimate that this could cost Facebook about 7% in revenues. In order for Mark Zuckerberg to maintain absolute control of Facebook, he's going to have to make a great presentation of his findings around privacy and cybersecurity controls over Facebook's data to the board of directors. And this is where firms like the Big Four accounting firms can really make a ton of money, because not only do they have plenty of consultants that could help and be on the ground floor at Facebook looking into this data, but they also have the professionalism in order to create a presentation for the board of directors. And I'm sure there are a number of Big Four partners that are already very familiar and well networked with the board of directors at Facebook. The board of directors at Facebook also probably has some Big Four alumni on it as well. So Mark could really utilize professionals at the Big Four to do some of the cleanup work on his and Facebook's brand right now. But the Facebook issue isn't the only cybersecurity issue in the news. There's obviously the Russian election hacking scandal where the Russian government was suspected of manipulating data in the US election. They utilized Facebook and other social media websites to manipulate the election. And the Big Four can utilize this scandal to scare large corporations and say that their data can be accessed and manipulated by foreign governments. or hackers in general. And this is a really good opportunity for the Big Four to sell more cybersecurity services to the largest corporations in the world. And this is also a good opportunity for all of you out there to consider a career in cybersecurity at the Big Four, if this type of stuff interests you. If you haven't decided which line of service you're going into, but you may be interested in working in consulting, then maybe the cybersecurity sector might be something appealing to you. Cybersecurity is becoming more important every day, and the Big Four aren't only accounting firms anymore, as we've spoken about a lot in this podcast. And there's not only blockchain and artificial intelligence, there's also cybersecurity. If you're looking for a job in consulting, but you're not sure which industry you wanted to work in, obviously cybersecurity would be a very lucrative career, as it keeps on hitting the headlines more and more every day. Because as we've seen over and over again, even the best tech companies in the world, like Facebook, don't have great controls to prevent their information from being accessed and manipulated. So there's obviously a lot more work to be done in this area, which means that there will be plenty of jobs and plenty of money to be made in this sector in the future. And that's something to keep in mind as you continue down your Big Four recruiting path and your Big Four career.
If you need help and guidance through your Big Four recruiting process, make sure to check out our links to our books and courses in the show notes below. For additional Big Four career insights, tips, and tactics, visit our Patreon page, whereas for as little as $1, you could start receiving unique guides and checklists to help you throughout your career. Support us by not only donating to our Patreon page, but also by subscribing to our podcast on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, or your favorite podcast player today.